Hello, you're watching Ellie from Elementary Paper Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. So today I'm going to showcase the beautiful Elegantly Said designer series paper. And this is one of the items that's in the annual catalogue I absolutely fell in love with. It's a speciality designer series paper, which means it's foiled. And as you'll see here, this one is foiled with silver and tiny little bits of gold. And that's on a basic grey background. And then we've got this pretty one, which is on a very vanilla background. And that has gold and little tiny black dots. That one's very elegant. Well, the whole thing's elegant. This one is kind of Art Deco design. Then you've got this lovely, this has gold, silver and copper on a white background. And then the simple gold on white, which is always beautifully elegant. And the one I'm going to use today, which is this gorgeous silver, copper and a tiny little bit of gold on the black. I think it's very dramatic. I really, really like that one. And then on the back side of these, again, you have some beautiful designs, all in black and white or grey and white. But I think you'll agree with me that these really are gorgeous papers. And the good thing about these is that they're very good for projects that you just don't want to be spend a lot of time on. You want them to look spectacular without actually doing a lot. So the paper does all the work, if you like. That's one way of explaining it. So I wanted to make some little favours for friends. And I found these large Tic Tac varieties. This one happens to be cherry cola, which I've never heard of. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice to just put something simple in a lovely little box with a pretty label, just to say hi, you know, it's good to see you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started. So I'm going to make, well, I call it a slider box. I think some people call it a matchbox. So anyway, I'm starting off with my trimmer. Just going to move my book out of the way. My trimmer, and I've cut my card already. And I'm using a piece of very vanilla. And it measures 5.5 by 4 1/8. And just using the light grey scoring tool here, I'm going to put it into my trimmer, and I'm just going to score 1 inch all the way round. Now when you're using our trimmer, there's a handy little marking area on the right, and I like to use that for smaller measurements, because if you're right-handed like me, you want to hold onto your card with your left hand and use your right to score. So if you haven't got very much, if you want to measure this way and you're only measuring 1/2 inch or something, you can't hang on to the card because it's going to go under here. So in those situations, I just find it easier to use this side of the board. So I'm going to move that over to the 1 inch mark and score. So I'm making the tray, if you like, to slide into the outer sleeve. Okay, and that's all there is to that bit. So I'm going to come away and I'm just going to grab something out of my drawer, some pegs. Going to need those in a minute. And I'm using my lovely Stampin' Up snips. And so before I cut, I'm just going to score. And I say this every time, that you've got your score line there, bend away from the score line. Okay, and then it will always fold beautifully without cracking if you remember that rule. Now, I've said this many times as well, if you're making a box, make sure you really get those lines crisply burnished. And then we're simply going to go in and make 4 cuts on these score lines. So come to the inside of the score line and there. And then I'm just going to fold that bit up so that I don't cut it. And I'm just taking a very small wedge off of the right hand side there. And I've said this before as well, I always do it from the right because I'm right-handed, and then I turn it and go with the right again. If you're clever, you might be able to do, you know, trim right and left with the same accuracy, but I'm not that clever. What is it they say? I'm good, but I'm not that good. Okay, so let's just repeat that. Just inside the score line. So basically I'm cutting the score line away. I don't want that. Wedge that bit off. So this is a box base, which, you know, I've made many times before, but the more often you make it, the more automatic it becomes. You're going to make a play on words there. It basically becomes habit. Basically, did you get it? No, forget it. That was a bit silly, wasn't it? So I put my Tombow glue into my fine tip applicator again. And just putting some glue on these tabs. Now you can use any adhesive you like for this, but personally I have always found Tombow to be the better. Always a wet glue as opposed to a glue runner, if you like, double-sided tape, purely because in time those adhesives on a roller or a tape, if they're left in a warm place, will dry out and the box will come apart. I mean, if it's only going to be just given to somebody and then they're going to chuck it away, it doesn't matter. But you know what us ladies are like? If someone gives us a nice box, we like to keep it, don't we? Forever and ever. And then, you know, in a few years' time you think, well, why have I still got this box? But you still keep it. But yeah, that's what I like. And I'm just moving these pegs up and down a bit just to get them so that they make sure everything grips. So I'm just going to leave that to dry for a couple of seconds and move that out of the way. And bring in the piece of designer series paper that I've chosen to use. And I haven't used this one before and I really love it. Some of you might know that copper is my kind of colour. I love any kind of browns and reds. As you can see from my nails this time, gone for the browns. So what I've done is, when I'm making what I call a wrap, which is something that wraps around and I'm making a slider for this box. It's quite difficult to get it to fit really snugly, but not too tight that it doesn't slide. And I find the best way to do this is just to feel your way around it, really. That's the best way to describe it. So what I did was I took the base, let's just take those pegs off now, and just to get a rough idea of how much paper I was going to use, I just took the base and I thought, right, well, it's got to wrap all the way around and a bit extra to stick it down. That was in my head. So I thought, right, well, let's just roughly go on using my grid paper. So I'm going across the base, up the side, across the top, up the side, across the base, and a little bit extra. So I cut it to about 8 inches. I thought that's going to be about right. So the first thing I'm going to do, I know that is 1 inch. So I've popped that in there, it's 1 inch. So if I measured 1 inch, that would be exact and it wouldn't slide. So I need to go just over 1 inch. So I'm going to say 1 1/16 of 1 inch. And people get, oh, I can't do 16ths, you know. On this trimmer, it's so easy. So like I mentioned, I'm going to use this side. So slide it over to the 1 inch. And then the next marker is 1/16. So if you just move it up to the 1/16 and score. When you're scoring on designer series paper, you don't need to press really heavily, just a light score, because you don't want to tear it. And then again, bend away from the score and just use your fingers this time, just to very lightly burnish that fold line. And then I take my box, and I know, I'm aware that that is a little bit proud. I can trim that off afterwards, but I just wanted to make sure it was enough. And then I simply take my box and I fold my paper around it, just roughly, to give me the mark that I'm going to need. So I know that that's going to fit tightly enough, but not so tight that it won't move. And again, just use my finger to lightly bend that. I can actually remove this now. Okay, so now I've got up one side and along the base, and as you can see, that pulls in nicely. And then I'm just going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to lightly bend that over. In fact, I think it's easier to use it this way, because I've got something to press against there. So just lift this up and along there, and then again take it away to actually push that into shape. So push it in again, and you've got your nice smooth fitting there. And then at this point, I'm going to turn it over again so that the base of the box is against this, so I've got something to press against. And then I'm going to bring this up again. Okay, and that is just the easiest way to do this. I have done this before by measuring, and sometimes I get it spot on and sometimes I'm not. It's not right, it's too loose or too tight, but that is going to be perfect. So then I'm going to just hold that together, and I can see that that is really, I hope you can see this, all I need to do is just trim off that tiny little bit, which I think I'm going to wait until I've made the box up, and then I can just trim it when it's stuck. That's a good idea, because that's the one that's going to go on top. And the bit I'm going to use just as my tab to stick the whole thing together doesn't need to be the full inch, because this is going to cover it up. So I'm going to measure from that fold line. So if I put the fold line right on the track here and measure about ½ an inch, move it across about ½ an inch, that will be enough to stick. And then bring this back in like that, and actually stick it down around the box, and then that's another way of ensuring that this will not be too tight or too loose. So if you want to just hold it that way for a couple of seconds just to help the glue to dry on the bottom, I'll just move that away while it's drying. And incidentally, what I didn't tell you was the measurement of this, did I? I told you I'd cut it at about 8 inches, but that way it was 3½, because that was the size of my finished of the tray itself. Okay. So then with a piece of the leftover paper. I'm going to use the lovely Elegantly Said punch, which I showed you a few weeks ago when I made the lovely pink and white pizza star box. And I'm just going to use that piece to cut out a label. And just pop that in. This is a beautiful label. Elegant, as the name suggests. Just cut that out. Cuts beautifully. And then I'm going to use just a 1/8 of an inch punch, just to make the hole in the top. And it sticks a little bit because this is very thin paper to punch. Well, actually, I think this is about 140, so it's not really thin paper, but when you're punching something with that much strength in it, it does tend to buckle the paper a bit. Now, I was intending to use this ribbon, this copper ribbon, which actually is retired, but it just goes so beautifully with this paper that I wanted to use it. But I just wanted to show that Stampin' Up products are all made to match each other, and so you know, you can use so many things from different suites that will match in with whatever you're using. I've said before, all the stamp sets coordinate with each other size wise. All our stamping blocks, acrylic blocks, coordinate with all the stamps so that everything can be used together. You know, the colours go across the range, so you know, everything just matches beautifully. And I love this old copper ribbon, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to use that. So I'm just going to tie that on loosely. It doesn't have to be really tight. And that's my little tag made. And then now that this is dried, I'm just going to take my scissors, my long scissors, and I can take that out and just hold that straight and go along there and very easily cut that edge off. So we very easily made a little box with a sleeve that we know fits absolutely perfectly without doing any measuring. So you just slide it in, and as we said, it fits beautifully. It's not too loose, it's not too tight. And there's our label. So the label, now I'm going to use for that some little glue dots so that it's invisible. Glue dots are really good. They come on a roll and they're actually stuck on this bit here. So I'm going to start by actually putting a glue dot on the back of the ribbon itself. So I'm going to put it about there. So as you lift it up, the glue dot comes with it. And I'm just going to glue my two pieces of ribbon together there. And I'm going to put it up that way so that we get the other side of the paper contrasting. So I've got my two pieces stuck together, and then I'm going to put another glue dot on the back of that ribbon there, and it's beautifully stuck to the underside of the ribbon. So I'm just going to pop that on the top there and cut the excess off. So I hope you'll agree that that is a really lovely box to receive, and you can just write a little message on there. What would be really nice is to take a tiny piece of the very vanilla cardstock. I've always got little scraps, so something like that, and take the the basic black ink pad. This is the old style one, but they're all the same. And I'm just going to take a little stamp that says thank you. This is from Pansy Petals. Sorry, I don't know which one it is now. Let's have a look. Okay. It's very hard to read stamps back to front. I always get a bit mixed up. So just mount that on there. I'm just checking it does fit. Yeah. So I'm just going to pop this on a piece of the Very Vanilla. Take my trimmer. I'm just going to make sure this is dry. I'm very, very good at popping it in the trimmer and it's still wet, and I smudge it. And I'm sure, absolutely sure, that some of you do that. I cannot be the only one. And then I'm just going to pop this at a jaunty angle. And I might just take a tiny bit off the corner there to make sure this fits. You'll find when you're crafting that very often things at an angle look better than all dead straight. So I mean, like that label at the moment, that looks much nicer than dead straight in the middle. So I'm just going to pop that on there. And I think the font on that looks really casual, that thank you. But I think you'll agree with me that that is a beautifully elegant little gift to give someone. A box that was really easy to make and slides in and out beautifully. So, an elegant little box. So, this is my online shop, and this is the July host code. So if there's anything from Stampin' Up that you'd like to order, you can just go along to my shop and go on to my, if you quote this July host code when you order, it will notify me and I will send you a little thank you gift for ordering. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you would like to give me a thumbs up, share, like my channel and come back and see me again, I'd be really happy. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.